It's going to be pretty simple and straightforward, so nothing to really worry about. Also, let me just put some links in the chat so people can look at stuff while we get set up. I'm mainly going to be talking about APIs, microservices, how they're used, some of the tools that are available. I'm going to be mainly working in JavaScript, some HTML. Going to be using the Vue.js framework. And in addition to showing this platform, Rakuten RapidAPI, I'm also going to show a sandbox. The sandbox is pretty useful for sharing information. If you want to follow along live, I'll post the link in chat right now. I've turned off live editing, so you can't actually edit. If you do want to edit the code alongside me, one of the things you're going to need is an account here. And again, I'll go over this again later. We're not actually starting. We'll give it a couple more minutes. We're basically 10% at 10% right now. There's about 130 RSVPs, so only 14 people in the chat right now. So a couple of things you'll need are a code editor, some familiarity with JavaScript, HTML. If you're familiar with Vue.js, that's even better. Account here. And a link to the sandbox, which is here. So I just posted some links in the chat window. The chat, if you want to see the chat, there's probably a toolbar all the way at the bottom of your Zoom window. Just click that button, it should bring up the chat. But for testing, and then for live coding, okay. All right, let's just get started. It's 7:07. I'm assuming people will join as this goes along. So today we're going to talk about APIs and how to leverage them, and this marketplace called Rakuten RapidAPI, as well as how you can use the marketplace in your application. My name is Kaven Said Mitchell. I'm a developer and evangelist. I'm also a community organizer here in Tokyo. And I have experience as a product developer, application creator. So I have a full stack background. I have familiarity with mobile, web, desktop applications, front, back, database, and not so much on the design side, though I do have some familiarity. So you can see my interest there, but I'm mainly interested in, more recently interested in AI, fitness, and social ventures. So what are APIs and microservices? API stands for Application Programming Interface. It's basically a set of communication tools. It allows you to communicate. It allows an outside person to communicate with a system or piece of software. Pretty much every backend system now is run by an API. and these APIs are publicly or privately available. Microservices are APIs bundled with other like implementations, and when bundled together with other services, you can create pretty cool things. So one of the popular examples is like Facebook login, or Google's SDK, which allows you to do like a lot of different stuff with search or maps or even Gmail. There's a travel application example that uses, again, like Facebook's APIs for Facebook's libraries for login. Nexmo is like a telecommunications provider, and you can use like their SMS related APIs for like verification. Booking.com has an API that has their hotel information available. And you can use like Skyscanner as well to check flights and flight availability using their API. And of course, Google Maps API for like location services. So again, APIs are they're communication tools that allow individuals or developers to communicate with an internal system or some internal piece of software. But there can be some issues, some pain points around developing for or with APIs. There's a set of standards, but they're not widely, they're not as used as they should be. And the poorer or even newer like APIs, typically when people develop an API for like a brand new application or for a startup or something, or even just as a hobby, that's where you'll notice a lot of these pain points. So for example, that could be something like poorly maintained or out of date documentation. If you're a small shop and you developed an API for your like products that only a few hundred or a few dozen or even 1,000 people use, you might not want to invest so much time into maintaining the documentation or keeping it up to date. If you're on the other end, if you're a developer using multiple APIs, you might have difficulty keeping track of which account did you use to make your developer account. Billing as well. If you're being billed for multiple APIs, and if you're being billed for multiple APIs and your billing is spread across different accounts with different providers that charge you at different dates, it can be quite a bit of a headache. So we've developed this marketplace called Rakuten RapidAPI. It's the world's largest API marketplace. In one line, you can think of it as like the App Store for APIs, the Google Play Store for APIs, a place where you can go and find, search, and consume and test like APIs all from one location. There are over 8,000 different APIs from a lot of these companies that you see here on this left side. And we're actively used by over 500,000 developers. And we have billions of API calls a month. So some of these providers are available on the platform. SendGrid, Twilio, Google, some of these APIs are all available through the platform. On the provider side, I'd like to say that we provide the most value for small providers. If you're just making your API available, you don't have to worry about necessarily creating like a payment system. Or if you're just starting out and you need access to developers, we already have 500 plus developers on the platform. So by making your API available on our platform, you can be seen by those 500,000 plus people. Also, we're a pretty mature platform, so it's easy to be discovered. And as well, if you just have like a set of data, let's say you've cataloged all the species of fish in the world, and you want to make that data available to the general public, you can do that, and you can leave the payment side alone until you can develop it. You can leave the management side alone until you can develop it, and just focus on providing your data to the general public. We take care of everything else. On the developer side, using the platform, you can easily find or discover tests and pay for and even monitor multiple APIs all from a single platform. You don't have to create multiple developer accounts to do this. You don't have to go to Facebook and make a developer account. You don't have to go to Google and make a developer account. You don't have to go to AWS and make a developer account. You can just have one account available through our platform and use that to manage your APIs. So what I'm going to do next is get right into everything. The main point of tonight will be to show you the platform, but also tell you about some of the popular APIs that we have available, as well as show you how to do some live coding. So here you can see, again, some of the more popular APIs that we have available on the platform. But the next thing I want to show you is what this actually looks like. I'll just share my desktop. By the end of tonight, you'll become more familiar with actually, I shouldn't do that. You'll become more familiar with this application. This dashboard that you can see here. We'll go through the steps to recreate this using the links that I posted in the chat earlier. Again, you can follow along with the live coding if you come here, go to this URL that I just posted in chat. You can also go directly to the sandbox, which is here, and just fork this code. If you see here on the right-hand side, there's a fork button. You can just fork this project and edit it yourself. But I'll get more into what this is and how to configure this and how to edit this. This is going to be the end product. This is going to be the end product. There are some things that I've left purposefully broken in here, and we're going to spend some time editing this so it makes sense to you. Before that, though, I want to show you the platform and where we'll get this information from. So just looking here, you'll see that we have location, some pretty image, some news information, and what looks like it could be the temperature. I'm guessing the weather, but it says 0 degrees Celsius, so we'll fix that. So let me take you to the platform now. I have multiple windows open. And one sec. So this is the platform. Again, in order to follow along, you'll need an account. So you'll want to sign up through, you'll want to come here and sign up in order to use the APIs that are available on here. And the URL again is english.api.rakuten.net. And I'll just post it in chat again. What we have here is our platform. So you can see there's a search bar here that allows us to search for categories of any API or by name. So I can search for something like fintech and be presented one API. But if I continue with the search, I should get, if I continue with the search, I'll see that there is a list. If I do finance, for example, I'll see multiple APIs, 5 pages of APIs. If I do blockchain, again, 13 results. If I do AI, for example, there's 113 results for AI. So the search, this search toolbar is pretty useful if you're looking for a particular type of API. We also have this summary window where you can see the more popular endpoints for each API. For example, Imager, you can, the more popular endpoints are get account album, get account delete. You can also see the category that the API falls under, when it was last updated, and the level for the pricing plan. So this is a freemium API, meaning that they have a free tier, but also have a paid tier. And it's consistent across all the other APIs. You can see, again, the more popular endpoints, the category, when it was last updated. This one's a free API. Yeah, most of them are free and freemium, but there are some paid APIs that you have to pay for immediately. Also, you can see the different collections of APIs. So here we have popular APIs, recommended, code generators, top text analysis, and then at the bottom, further, even more and more categories of APIs. For this dashboard application, we'll be using weather, news, and photo-related APIs. We'll also be using a location API. So let's take a look at one of these APIs. So I'm going to choose a really simple one. It's pretty useful. It's called IP info. You can see like the summary of information about this API. Here, it'll tell you what category of API it is. Again, this one's a free one. Who made it, when it was last updated, what kind of API is it? So it's a tool. Then you can also see like the popularity score, latency, and success rate. You can see this on the main window as well through that small summary once you mouse over, but you can see it here as well. Popularity score tells you how popular the API is. Latency tells you how slow the response is to a request. And the success rate tells you how many requests actually go through. So this, again, further down here, you can see the information about the endpoints that are available. So this one is a full IP detail API. And then for these APIs, the project information and host key information are already filled in. And there's a test button here. Also, you can see the request snippet for the different programming languages that you might be used to. So PHP, Python, Objective-C, even you can just even create a curl. Clicking on this icon will show you how to install it. Currently, we're using Unirest. It's like a SDK library it's a library for making requests, and we have our own our own library also used for making requests called RapidAPI Connect. So let me just test this endpoint really quickly. You'll see we'll get a 200 response, the header information, and then information about that's returned from this API. So this one, as you can see, returns the IP information, host name information, location, and postal code. This is one that we'll actually use later. There's others as well. Let's say I wanted to do something like sentiment analysis. We have well, I know what the API is called, but let me just search for sentiment analysis. So these are different sentiment analysis related APIs. There's one that, let's try this twin word sentiment analysis API. Here it has a pricing tab because it's a freemium API. With this, you see that there's a basic plan that has, it's free, $0 a month, but you get, you get 500 requests per month, and then after the 500, you'll be charged a third of a penny. Then there's a pro plan and an ultra plan. I'm already subscribed, but if you use these, you'll have to put in your credit card information to subscribe to these, simply because once you go over, or if you go over the limit, you'll be charged. But again, unless you're doing something insane like making a for loop or infinite for loop that just runs forever without monitoring like what you're actually doing, then you won't ever have to worry about this. This one is called TwinWord, and essentially it's a sentiment analysis related API. So you can post some text and it will give you back the sentiment. So I'll just type some random text. I'm sleepy because I've been up all night writing code. Let's see what it says back. The response is 200 response code telling me it's successful. The request went through. I got back the headers and as well as the body. And the sentiment is neutral, and it's neutral with 1% confidence interval. Some of the keywords about what I wrote are the word all, up, have, and night. Those are the keywords identified by this TwinWord API. I want to try something new. Let's see. I'm going to try. Actually, no. I'll do Skyscanner. I all of a sudden said I wanted to put in a breakup letter into the sentiment analysis API and see what the sentiment of the breakup letter was, but it's probably too dark for this for this call. Skyscanner is another popular API that we have available with Skyscanner, which is only or exclusively available through our platform. In order to get access to this API, you have to run through numerous hurdles and hoops with Skyscanner. But if you access it from this platform, it's really, you can access it immediately. So this API, for example, tells you like flight information. You can search for flights using the Skyscanner API. I'll want to do the browse flight prices, and then I'll do browse dates, and I'll just say let's fly from LAX to San Francisco in June. And then the inbound date, let's say, is July. Yeah. Again, another 200 error response, and then quotes. So the minimum price for this flight is like $44. You can change the currency as well, and then the outbound dates and things like that. But yeah, the minimum price is $44, flying from LAX, San Francisco. The carriers that are flying this are like Alaska Airlines. I think for this API, it tells you alphabetically the first airline that's available, and then the currency that this is coming in is the USD, but you can customize this. So those are the 3 APIs that are available through the platform, but there's tons and tons more that you can use. I'll show you the developer dashboard as well. I think my screen is still being shared properly. Give me one sec, let's double check. Yeah, so let me show you the developer dashboard. So here you can see the dashboard of the multiple APIs that I've been using. I've made 515 calls, and this is for this week. And then errors, latency, billing information, the different APIs that I'm using, my subscriptions APIs used, and I have multiple apps here that I've been working on. So I can see analytics for those different apps. So it's pretty useful, pretty cool information that's available through the dashboard. But let's get directly into the coding part. So let me open up my I'm just going to share my, actually, I'm confused about how this works with multiple monitors. So I'm going to unplug one monitor. So I should see the same thing that you're seeing. I should see the same thing that you're seeing. I'm going to share my desktop. And yeah, desktop is shared. And let me take out my handy dandy yeah, I'm not really sure what I gave at Hacker Earth, Hitesh. Some of the content in terms of like the platform is the same, but I think this is the first time that I'm showing this application. I've done this live, but I haven't done this through a webinar before. So I don't think you've seen this. I don't think you've seen this at Hacker Earth. Hitesh asked if I've given this webinar before. So I think I'm all good now. You should see my desktop. Again, this is the location, weather, news, and images dashboard. Just a simple interface that shows you these different aspects. And what I'll have is, I have for this code, I have it open in separate windows just so we can see what it looks like. Yeah, so the coding part is new. The platform I've introduced multiple times all over the world, so you might have seen the platform before, but yeah, I'm glad you're here. You can see tonight how I'll use the actual platform in an application. So let's get started. We have an hour and a half left. And again, if you want to fork this code, just go to this URL. Actually, sorry, too many computers. You should be able to go to this URL. Just wait for it to load. Yeah. And you should be able to fork this code and you'll be able to follow along with exactly what I'm doing. You can also use the this service, this platform is called Code Sandbox. There's a live editor, and I'll go live again.
Kevin, it is which technology front end?
Yeah, so I couldn't hear you, but let me, if you don't mind, can you ask your question in chat? Just because we don't want, like,
Yeah, I pinged him.
we don't want 20 people all talking at the same time. So let me send this URL. So you can follow live using the link that I just sent. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to hide this window because we don't necessarily need it. We have the preview here. Now, what this is, it's just a simple, I like to call them scaffolds. You can call it a bootstrap project. You can call it whatever you want. It's just a simple dashboard application that allows you to see the weather, news, again, location, and this cool image. What we have here is at the very top, it's just HTML. And below that, we have the JavaScript. Again, this is a Vue.js. This is a Vue.js framework application. It's just again, a simple scaffold. So at the very top is HTML. In the script, within the script tags, it's the JavaScript that we'll need to edit. And at the bottom is just the styling. If you're familiar with Vue.js, it will give you a nice heads up. And I'm going to uncomment all of these so we can, or I'm going to comment all of these out so we can see where it comes from. Get photos and get news. So the very first call will be this get my location call that passes the object as a parameter to this. And for this getting the location, which will populate here, we'll want to use location-based API. And we can use the same one that we used before, which is IP info. And it's super simple. We just have to essentially copy and paste. But if we go to the platform, and then let's search for a location and see, spell location wrong. See what comes up under location. We see that there's multiple different location-based APIs. What I want to know here is like, where am I? There's a lot of different APIs that can tell you where you are based on your IP address. So if you supply your IP address, which we could do, the APIs will tell us like where in the world that IP address comes from. It's not super accurate, but it's good enough. But what we want to know is we just want to know where we are. We want an API that'll automatically get us tell us where we are, even without us supplying any information. And as you can see, there's 5 pages of APIs. There's 24 APIs on each page. And again, at the bottom here, you see there's 213 results. But I know exactly which one we want to use. And it's this one called ipinfo.io. And you can read the description. I won't read it out, but if I just test it, you'll see the information that we get back. So it has our IP address. It tells us where the server that ran this is located. And this is Beaumont, Texas in the United States. So it seems pretty good for what we want to do. I'm just going to come here, Node.js, copy this code snippet because this is exactly what we want to post into our code. And here, I think I copied too much. Yeah. Here, we want to copy and paste this into our source. So this is the code snippet that we need in order to do anything. When you see it says, I just copied and pasted it. It says universe.get, the URL, the get URL that we need, the header information, and then do something else at the end with the function. If this was on your local machine, you would need to run, you need to install this universe package. Here, if we do install, there's this install SDK button. We're already on the JavaScript option, the Node.js option, sorry. and it'll tell you exactly what to do. So if you're using npm, you can do npm install unirest. If you're using yarn, then you would do, I think it's yarn install unirest or yarn add, and then instantiate the instance and make the request. So it's really straightforward. It's a 3-step process. So here, we're doing the same thing. We just copied and pasted the code. If I uncomment the original so you can see exactly what it looks like, you'll see this is exactly the same information that we want. For this application, we mainly need the city and the country, because there's multiple cities in the world with the same name. So we need the country information as well. With the city and country information and the location information as a whole, we can populate this this news section to provide us the information that we want, as well as the weather. The weather will come later. So I'm just going to edit this again. So we want to assign the city information, country information. The locale is automatically set to, the locale was set already and the language was set already, but I believe with this API, we should get the locale and yeah. Oh no, we don't get the locale information here, but we can set it manually, or we can use, we can get it directly from the browser. For time's sake, we just set it locally. I mean, we just set it manually. So EN, US, and language would be EN. So here, we want to set the city information. So it'll be parent.city equals results.body.city, which is the same as here. This is the city. For country as well, body.country. And after this, we want to call the next API, because we have the location now. We got the city and the country like we want. The initial mount only calls the location API. It doesn't call the photos or the news or weather or anything like that. So we need to call the next, we need to make the next calls for the information that we want from this get my location API. So the next APIs we want to look at are the other three. So the news, the weather, and the photo one. So those, we see the methods that we have here already. So it's just parent.get, let's say get weather, because it's right there. And we have to pass it the parent parameter, which again is just this. Then the next thing is parent.getNews. I think news needs the locale and the city and country information as well. So we can, again, just pass parent because we assigned everything to parent. So parent. And then the final one should be get photos. For that as well, we need to have the city and location information. We can put anything in there because the photos, I'll explain why, but the photos are pretty flexible. But for now, we'll just leave this like this. Let me stick this up. So I'm in Tokyo, I'm in Japan, and when this runs, it should tell me my location. So yeah, it says I'm in Yokohama, Japan, which is likely where the where my IP address is located. I don't think I have my VPN on. Oh, 1 sec. So the next thing we want to do, I think we said weather, but I'll change it from weather because I want to do weather last. The next call that I want to look at is news. So we want to put news information here. If you remember what the original image looked like. So news. For news, we want to use, let's see what we have available for news related APIs. For news, we also have 200 results for APIs. So it's quite a bit. You can see the full list here, different news APIs. The one that I know we're going to use, though, is this Bing News Search. So Bing News Search allows you to search for news, like headline news, based on category, or just search in general, or trending topics. So you can supply like the category. You can supply, well, here, see search. You can supply like the query, which is what you want to search for. And then set like whether you want a safe search or limit the number of searches or whatever. So what we could do is say we want to find all of the related news in Japan. And then you can see what the response is. So here, you see that we have best match for the ID's relevance or most recent. I guess it's different for, this API is different depending on what you're searching for. But yeah, is this million? So 3,450,000 results or matches. The first 10 are these articles. Ireland captain best to retire for private equity. Japan still beats China. Like just different news articles. So why don't we grab this code snippet? Why don't we grab this snippet here and then paste it into our application. See, I commented it out already, but. And again, it's the same exact format as the previous example with the location. So the URL that we want to search, the host and key information is already automatically included. And then the results that we get back looks like this format. So what do we want to do with this? We want the news to show up here. It's already been styled. We just have to plug in and fill in the blanks based on the HTML. In the news section, where is it? We want to, so from here. So for each news item in news, we want to bind it to an item, to an element. And then we're using the article tag, does some animation. The key for each item is the name of the article. Pretty straightforward. So let's edit this and see what it looks like. So from the news section, what do we need? We need, it looks like we just need each item out of the response. So the original example just took the first 5, but why don't we just take all of them? Why don't we just take the full 10? So, and then the news parameter is an array. So let's put this in an array. So parent.news equals results. Body. Is it the body? Okay, so value is what we need. Value is where the articles are. So result.body.value. Let's see how this looks. Yep, so there are 10 articles. And the images are being loaded now. Yeah, 10 might be a bit much. So let's cut it down a little bit. Slice 0 article to 0 article to 7. Yeah. 0, 7. So yeah, then we have the first 7 articles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 again might be a bit much. So let me lower it to 5. And I know that'll be good. So in the end, I made it 0 to 5 anyway. Yeah, so that's the location and that's the news. For the final one, or not the final one, the next one, let's get the photos. So photos, let's see what we can get in terms of photos. Photos. 53 APIs, okay. It's not 200. Still a bit much. And again, I already know which one. Oh, this one looks interesting. Find porn face. More than 25,000 porn stars, adult models, and supermodels. Fast search with filters. Search. I think I'll look at that one later. The one that we do want though is this one called Unsplash. But let me see if there's a. So Unsplash, beautiful free photos gifted by the world's most generous community of photographers. So this looks like free photos that we can use. This one, according to here, has an access token and requires, well, it has an access token. If we want to search photos, we need an access token and a query, a string. So what this means is some of the API providers haven't fully integrated their API with the platform. For these API providers, you still need to go there and pick up access token or API key. With the previous 2 examples, that wasn't necessary. With a lot of the APIs that we saw already, it's not necessary. You don't need to go and pick up a key. But for this Unsplash API, we need access key. So the details tell us that pretty much, and that we have to create a new application at the dashboard. Yeah, that's not super exciting, but for some of these APIs, it's kind of what's necessary. So let's see what the URL should be here. Go to Unsplash, register or log in, create a new application at the developer dashboard. these are the three things that we're trying to avoid by using Rakuten RapidAPI. By using Rakuten RapidAPI, we reduce the amount of times that we actually have to do this. I actually did it already, so I already have a developer account. But let me grab my access token from here, and then we can see what the response is. So let's say we want to do search photos. We put in my access token, and we want to search photos for Tokyo. So this one, okay, this one returned an error. JSON validation. Looks like it's this one's been incorrectly configured by the provider. That's what that error means. But luckily, I do have the working version here already, so we can skip by that a little bit. Here we have the a different call. It's the same API, same access token. Still going through Rakuten RapidAPI, as you can tell by the name of the call. If we look at it now, location, the new should come in a sec, and then the next should be the photo. So this is the photo for what location did we put in here? Oh, so the query is the country, which is Japan. If we change it to this .city, for example, city should be Yokohama. You should see the image change. I guess this is the Chinatown in Yokohama. And again, here you can easily imagine having an input window that takes input from your user, and then you can put in whatever you want to go here. So in this case, it might be something like maybe the input, maybe the user wants to see chocolate. So Unsplash is going to tell us or show us a chocolate image. Yeah. And they have multiple images. I think with a simple refresh, we'll see something else. Let's see. Totoro is my favorite character, so I want to see if they have any images. Yep, that's it. I don't need anything else. This is all I need. All right. So the next thing, we put in the photos. So the next thing that we want to add, and this is where we should see some errors, is the weather. So I already have icons for the weather. What we'll need for the icon is like a temperature code. Here, if I go back, it'll probably remove the window. Let me check anyway. So in the assets folder, we have icons, and depending on the number of the icon, we'll see, we can see what the type of temperature is. So we'll need a code for these weather icons. What else? Weather also takes the temperature. Right now it's set to 0 degrees, but I'll take that out. The temperature unit is currently set to Celsius, but I'll take that out. And then the temp code is currently set to 0, which is probably fine. So it looks like we need the temperature, the unit, whether it's Celsius or Fahrenheit, the text, which is like what is the temperature, and then code for the icon for the temperature. Now, based on what we've been doing, we would use we would come to the site again. And then we would do, you can probably imagine, we search for the word weather. At this point, we still have an hour left. Let's see if we can get this weather API working in the next hour, and we'll also take questions. So we have a bunch of weather-related APIs, right? Yahoo Weather, the Dark Sky Weather, Open Weather Map, AccuWeather. Let's try AccuWeather. Now, one thing I have to make clear and I have to emphasize, all of this information, every single thing that you see here is added by the provider. The provider inputted all of this information. The provider configured all of this. The provider set the pricing plans that we saw earlier. The provider has added all of that information. Like I said, we're an app store for APIs, right? If you are an Android developer or iOS developer, you create your app and you submit it on the App Store. And the App Store, Apple or Google or whatever, they're responsible for making sure that it's a legit application that works and doesn't contain like any fraudulent or malicious software. So think of us as the exact same. We're responsible for vetting the platform to make sure that whatever you see is legit. And if it's not legit, then we take it out. Otherwise, what's on the platform is added by you and like other providers. So for this API, what do we want? We want to get the weather, right? So we want to make a call to AccuWeather, because I know that's the one that we want. And this is another one that requires an API key, which I conveniently have because I went to their provider portal and requested one. But we want to get the current weather. So let's see. There are a couple of things that might work. Get current conditions, get by location key, get current conditions by top cities. Let's see what else. Search by geoposition. Maybe it's one of those two from earlier. So get current conditions by location key and top cities. Let's try top cities. So group of number of cities and the API key. So let me see if this will do what I want. I'm going to put in a 5 for the group, which is the number of cities, and then the API key, which I had from earlier. Oh, so this one is also returning a validation error. So it looks like the provider hasn't put it in properly. Let's see if this will work. So, okay, well, this one requires a location key. What do they have in terms of search by location key? No. Search city. This could work. We know that I'm in Yokohama. So I'm not sure why this is blank. Actually, it shouldn't be blank. Oh, okay, it's blank because the icons haven't been added properly. So let me just comment this icon out. So icon line out. And I see you came back here. So we know that I'm in Yokohama. And then I'm going to put the location key in. Just to test it, I'm going to put Yokohama. Okay, so again, it's returning this JSON validation error, so it hasn't been configured correctly. But using the old SDK library, the old library, maybe I can see the information anyway. Let me call this get weather, and I'm passing it parents. Let me comment some stuff out. So search city with country code. Oh, there we go. So the configuration that was set using this Unirest library and Node.js is incorrect, but using the other library, the RapidAPI Connect library, we can get the information that we want. It looks like the temperature is 18.1 degrees in Yokohama. The character, what's the word? Temperature code is Celsius, and it's mostly clear. Now, I want to see if we have the weather icon that's available. When we have the temp code, payload, okay. Let me see what the I'm looking for the weather icon. The weather icon is 34. And possibly this would work now with the correct icon. Parent. Where is it? I'm trying to see if I can get the weather icon out correctly now. So, but as you can probably hear by my laptop, it's gonna explode in my face because it's extremely loud. But yeah, the weather icon does not want to play nice. So I'm going to, for the sake of time, just re-comment it out until I figure out what's going on with it. All right, type code. Where are you? Okay. So yeah, as you can see, we have the location. Search folder. We have the location. We have the news. We should have our image in a second after it loads. Oh, I might have inadvertently overloaded the photo calls because I'm seeing these photo errors. And we should have the weather as well. Search city with country code. Search city with country code. Okay. So it looks like I've made too many requests, and it looks like my I've reached my limit of calls for the weather and for the photo related APIs. Now, typically, and that's because these are free APIs. So this is the AccuWeather API that's completely free. So it has a service limit. So what I could do is I can come here and find a replacement API that will give me the weather information and make some minor changes. And I'll do that in a second. Also, the photo one, Unsplash, is another free API. Yeah, it's another free API that has a service limit. So I've run over the maximum amount of calls I can make with the free APIs. So for photos as well, I'll have to find a replacement API that will give me some cool images based on the information I provide. Now, we have 45 minutes, right? And as I find replacement APIs, I'd like to take your questions about what's actually going on here and what you see on the screen. And hopefully I can answer any questions that you might have. So yeah, hit me with it. You should be able to unmute yourself. I'm going to keep editing this as I talk, so you can see exactly what's going on. But yeah, let me know what questions you have, if any questions, and we'll go from there. You can also just type in chat.
Hello.
Yeah, what's up?
So I want to know what are the actual use cases where I will be using, these multiple APIs. Is it just going to be where I need to, fetch services from different vendors, or I could still use it, if I'm just using one vendor?
It actually depends on you, right? It depends on what you're working on. So what APIs the flexibility that APIs give you is that you can access more information easily. So it depends on your actual use case. Like, what kind of application are you building? What kind of service are you building? If you're building anything online, like any kind of web service, you might need to send emails to your customer. So if you want to send emails, I'll just show you really quickly. If you want to send emails, we have SendGrid. SendGrid is the perfect application to use, with the perfect API to use. It requires like little to nothing. So here, it's a freemium API. There's 100 requests a day. This is the endpoint to the very first one is to send an API, to send an email. You see here the required parameters. And again, it shows up in the request snippet. So the 2 is email john@example.com. Subject is hello world. Actually, we can test this right now. I'll just email myself. So it's a 200 ranged error response. And again, it's here in my inbox already, from address, hello world. It's just that simple. And actually, I'm using this in one of my like scaffolds now. Here, I can show you just through GitLab really quickly. Source, components, no chat, contact. You'll see it's the exact same snippet that I'm using in my scaffold for like a personal website that I'm making. Again, it's just the same exact snippet that's here. Sorry, the Zoom thing is in the way. It's the same exact snippet that's here. I just copied and pasted it into my source. And now if you go to this personal website, I can input this information. Hit send, and there it is. It's in my inbox already. And it's just like a couple of lines of code that I just copied and pasted from here, pasted into here, and then made some minor changes in the same exact way. So it's just like a really simple thing that takes like 5 minutes, but it depends on your use case. It just depends on your use case. I'm trying to do the same thing with, like, I need to find a new photo to replace this because I ran over my limit. So I'm gonna find a new photo, maybe through Pexels. So yeah, any other questions while I while I look for a new photo API? Again, what I'm doing is the photo API that I was using, I ran over the limit, so I need to replace the API. I need to replace that API with a different photo-related API. So there's Getty Images, there's Pixabay, there's Pexels, Unsplash. Yeah, just ask me any questions while I do this. I'm doing this for you guys so you can see exactly what the process looks like. But if you have any questions, I'm here. Pixabay requires an API key.
And since there would be multiple APIs doing the same thing, do you have any set of best practices or patterns of what kind of API to use. So like the example that you showed for the email, I can have multiple APIs who might precisely do the same thing. So
Yeah.
any recommendations on that?
So you have collections. So even here on the side, you see popular APIs, recommended APIs, top Japan APIs, essential e-commerce APIs. These collections are those multiple APIs that do the same thing. You just pick one that fits your use case the best. What I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to find a replacement for Unsplash that I can use easily that doesn't have an API key, because I don't want to go sign up for another developer account on Pixabay or Getty Images. So my specific use case now is that I want to find an API that doesn't require a key. So that's what I'm looking for. But yeah, the collections of APIs are what you'd be looking for.
And this top Japan API means what? These are the APIs that are used by the folks in Japan, or is it applies to Japan queries?
No, it's the popular APIs in Japan.
Okay.
So the APIs that are related to Japan that are popular, not necessarily by query, but by use case. So there might be, I don't know what APIs there are in there, but there might be like a top ramen shop API or a top Hello Kitty, or there might be like a Hello Kitty API. Probably nobody outside of Asia would care about Hello Kitty. So yeah, I think someone's asking a question. Can you use more than one API in such a way that once the maximum of number of requests of one API is over, then the second API takes over and starts? Yes, you can, and that's what I should do next. What we could essentially do is here on error, when you receive an error, I'm just going to copy and paste it. When you receive an error, you just make another API call to the backup API, and then assign the parameter that you need. So like parent.photo equals result.body. For example, but I didn't do that. So that's what I'll do going forward, so that even if one API fails, the second API can pick it up. But technically, you don't want to do this. You probably want to create a function that you just call, and then that function would have the required parameters for the photo. But what I would also do is like I'd probably make a getter function. So I make a function and I just pass it the parameter for what I'm looking for. So right here, this is like get my location, get weather, get photos, get news. So I'd probably make something like get info. I'm just thinking ahead here about what I do. And then program would be photo, news. Yeah, keep asking questions. I'm like thinking out loud while I answer your questions. Photo, news, location. Any more questions? I'm here for another 30 minutes. Sometimes I mix up PHP with JavaScript. Yeah, so just to reiterate, Hitesh asked if you can use multiple APIs so that if the first one fails, your function picks up and uses the second API. And I said, yes, you can. In the error section of your code, you can make a follow-up call, a backup call in case your API fails. Where is this? Yeah. So yeah, let me know if you have any more questions.
So is it used anywhere commercially? Any commercial where it is deployed using Rapid APIs?
Rakuten RapidAPI?
Is it being used commercially anywhere? Which is in production?
Yeah, I believe so. Again, we have over 500,000 users. We have, we recently launched this service in Japan and Asia Pacific. So we have an office in Tokyo. We have regional communities in India and Singapore. And we're launching a new office in another part of the world. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say yet, close by, but yeah, we have over 500,000 users using the platform in their cases. So it's being used in production.
Yes.
This one.
And what would be the commercials going forward?
What would be what?
The commercials, once I exceed a rate limit, what would the pricing strategy?
Well, it depends on the API. The providers set their price. They set what their promotion would be. Hold on a sec, and I'll show you an example. No. So SendGrid, for example, SendGrid has 100 requests per day, and then after you hit the 100 limit, the next level up would be a $10 plan, which gives you 40,000 requests per month. On their free plan, if you go over 100 requests, you'd be charged like a tenth of a penny, or 1% of a penny. Yeah. So it's really cheap to use this API if you go over the free limit. But this information, this is set by the provider, and each provider has their own different limit.
Right, that's fine. But Rapid API will also be charging eventually for using their services?
No. So again, and also one point of distinction, the service is called Rakuten RapidAPI. Rakuten. There's a Rapid API that operates in a different part of the world, but we're Rakuten RapidAPI and we operate in Asia Pacific. And the platform will never have a cost for developers. If these prices, these values, this amount of money that you may or may not have to pay goes strictly to the provider. So to use the platform, it's free. To sign up, it's free. To use a lot of these free and freemium APIs, it costs you no money. But once you go over the limit, the provider will charge you based on the pricing plan that I just showed you.
Got it. So, but what is Rakuten's advantage of providing it for free for everyone?
So the advantage is we get access to the developers, and with the developers, once there's a what do you call it? What's the word? Once there are a lot of developers constantly using the platform, the API providers find value. So we get our revenue from the providers.
Hey, Kevin, can I
Go for it.
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for joining this. We really appreciate you taking the time to spend your evening with us. My name is Jed. I'm with the Rakuten RapidAPI team. I think it's Amit, right? You're asking like
Yes, right.
Amit, great questions. I just want to throw in a couple of points. Kevin already mentioned that like the platform access is free, the built-in tool set all is free. What we focus more time on is bringing API providers on board and negotiating to get you the same pricing as you would by going direct to source, right? So like Kevin said, we make our money off the API providers. And we create convenience value by aggregating everything in one place. Something else that you had asked about was like what use cases or what production environments are these used in? And it's really up to your imagination and what you're building. We have like a few startups that we're working particularly that are spinning new products. One example is I can talk to you about is a company that's building an influencer marketing platform. So their use case is that they want to scrub.
Sorry, your voice is not very clear. Are you on a speakerphone?
Yeah. Kevin, do you mind muting?
Yeah. Sorry, hold on. Let me mute myself.
Amit, is this better? Hello?
Yeah, it is better now. So if you could please repeat what you said in the last 5 minutes because we couldn't hear you.
Okay, sure. So let me start again. What Kevin was saying about, what's in it for us. Basically, we negotiate hard with the API providers to get you the same pricing on our platform as you do by going direct to source. And we take a margin off of them. So basically what we provide is convenience value for you, right? You find all these APIs in one place. You have a consistent UI and the built-in tool set to test and subscribe to the services in one place. And all this is free. What you pay for are the services that you consume. The other question you asked about was what use cases are in production. We work a lot with startup founders, especially for production applications. So I'll give you an example of a company that we're working with right now who's building an influencer marketing platform. So their use case is that they want to scrub, millions of Instagram influencers and posts and basically classify everybody, right? Tag all their posts so that if somebody who wants to engage an influencer, they search for travel, you get a whole list. So the use case is that we help them with the API to do topic tagging and text analysis on social media posts. And so in that way, they create a catalog, a tagging catalog of everybody on their that they're monitoring. Something else that we do for them is that because they were a high volume user, they were talking in excess of 8 million calls per month. They reached out to us and we helped them negotiate private plans so that you get advantageous pricing better than what's advertised on the site. So that is possible as well. And if you're building something and need help, we're happy to have a jump on a call and see if we can help you with that.
I got this. So would you also be then providing, paid consultation if somebody wants to, understand, use, would you be also giving, paid consultation as well, or it will just be free for everything?
You mean to use consultation to use the APIs?
Maybe, for specific use case, how to develop, what APIs to use.
Oh, no, though that we're happy to like get on as like a biz dev effort. So, let us know, we can get on a call, we can recommend APIs, for your use cases. And if there's like special pricing you want, we can certainly make an effort. If there are APIs that you specifically want, but we don't have it, we can also try to make an outreach and try to help with these things. We don't charge for that. We just want to make your lives easier with the APIs.
Okay, thank you for that. Understood.
Thank you. Kevin, you can like jump back on now if you like.
Yeah, if you guys can hear me, just ask me any more questions.
Yeah, I just posted a question regarding, you having an interface for location service providers. Do you have any such APIs that could interact with live locations and stuff like that?
That would interact with live locations? Can you repeat what you're looking for location-wise?
Yeah, like location service providers are there, right? For example, if we could, if you have an API that could interact with the locations and stuff like that, or
What do you mean by interact? Like, so there's APIs that can give you like information about a location. There's APIs that can tell you where your device is in the map or a region. There's APIs that can tell you about things that are available in the location. So I need to know like what about the location do you want to know?
yeah, if you interact with anything like if a device, so they tell me where my device is, what is the location of my device.
Yeah, so the one that I'm a fan of is the one that I'm currently using. Is this IP info? I can show you a bunch of them, but so just IP info, for example. First one. So with this one, it tells you the IP, like just by making a call, it tells you the IP address of the device. It tells you the city that the device is located in, the region that the device is located in, the country, the general GPS. But this is probably more related to either the tower, depending on like what they're using for Wi-Fi. So it might be where the network server is. It might be where the actual physical device is. It's not really accurate, this GPS location. What organization controls the IP, the postal code. But again, these three aren't really super meaningful. Probably like the city, region, and country are the best that you can get. There are others related to GPS, but again, it depends on the actual device. These four are related to the IP address. So if you supply the IP address, you can get more information. GPS related APIs. Let's see. So this one is a geocoding API. So if you supply the latitude and longitude, you can get information about that location. So I just applied like this latitude and longitude. You can specify like within a certain, let's say within like 100 meters.
Okay, fine. I just needed to know that you do GPS related APIs available. So this was for me. That answers my question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking that question, Suman. If it's all right with you, like maybe we can follow up by email, and to see if there's something else we can help with.
Yeah, and yeah. If you could also, maybe message me privately, or as per your whatever suits you, your email. If I have something, more, I can reach out to you.
Thanks a lot for that.
Yeah. We have other companies like there's a startup called K-pop Cart. They're using the platform to make their K-pop store application. So if you're interested in K-pop, like music, drama, manga, and stuff like that, that's what their service is about. There's another travel application that was being developed. So they basically give you discount flights, or they tell you like the best time to fly and which region to fly to, based on like the Skyscanner API. So there's different people doing different things. But I mean, it's up, like these people have their own existing use case that they fill us in on, like they leverage the platform to build their application. It's not really the reverse. They don't just pick an API and build something around the API. It's usually they have an idea and then the platform helps them bring it to fruition.
Got it.
So any other questions? Again, we can always hop on a call later and talk like one-on-one or privately, and we can like look at exactly what you're trying to do.
Right. I would be interested if you could also drop me your email, or your guys who also take care of the business part of it, both your emails, both the tech side and the business side of it. I'll definitely look forward to connecting with you.
Yeah, I'll drop my email in the chat.
Right.
You can also reply to the email that you received as a reminder.
Right.
Where is this chat?
I dropped the message, Kaven.
You're right. I got it. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think this has been very, very exciting. This is good to see, and I think going forward, I think there's a lot of use cases where we would be using the API for a lot of our business cases. So I think this is pretty exciting.
Amit, can I ask where you're based in?
I can't tell you publicly, but I'll definitely connect with you. So.
Okay, some of us will be in India next week, so we'll just like.
Yeah, but I am currently in India, and if you are anytime in India, you can let me know. We can meet up.
All right, sounds good.
This coming week, there's the Great International Developer Summit, so I'll be speaking there as well on Wednesday in Bangalore. So there I'll be talking more about chatbots and how we can help make chatbot happen.
Be here next Wednesday in Bangalore?
Yep, from Sunday to Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay, and which part of Bangalore?
That's a good question. Bangalore somewhere, wherever. You know what? Let me just pull it up on the screen.
No, I know it's like the Tata like conference center. That's what.
Okay. Okay. I thought you were going to use an API to pull that up, but
Actually, in Bangalore,
Yes.
have Rakuten also have office.
Yeah, so here, this is where I'll be at venue. So I'll be there for the week.
okay. And when you come here for the week, do we get in touch with you on your email address to?
Yeah. Shoot me an email and we'll meet up.
Sure.
Yeah, it is at IIC Bangalore.
Yeah, my computer is on its last legs. One of the ports don't even work anymore, so I'll have to bring a spare with me. Yeah, I'll be here speaking on Thursday.
Cool.
Oh, Wednesday, sorry. Some news APIs. News APIs are pretty cool. Well, for Mariko, there's I had the video running for a few minutes before the webinar actually started. So after I edit out the stuff in the beginning, I'll make the video available probably in the next day or so. So yeah, the video and material will be provided later. News APIs, there are quite a few. Also, there are a few news APIs. Bing isn't really useful for anything, but it is pretty useful for this their news API. Bing has a news API that's so you get 100 requests free. It's what I've been using here for this. Oh, sorry. I need to comment this stuff out. So the news section here is this is populated by Bing, and you can change the language. There's a language option, a locale option, so it's pretty useful to CMOP. There's something else I wanted to say. Yeah. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say, since you're all here, if you want to go through a really cool and easy tutorial about using the platform, once you go, after about 10 seconds or so, you'll see a pop-up. That'll include like a walkthrough, like a mini walkthrough on how to use the platform. You didn't see it in my session because I already have an account and I've logged in and stuff like that. But in 10 seconds or so, you should see a pop-up on the screen.
What was the website that he showed, which you are attending on Wednesday?
What seminar?
Yes, seminar.
Yeah, it's the Great International Developer Summit.
Okay.
And I'll be speaking on Wednesday. So I'll be speaking in the cloud and data section. I'll pull it up. I always forget. Where is it? Schedule. Schedule here. So in the schedule, this is the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at the last slot. 6:10. Yeah. So I'll be speaking here. 6:10 to 6:40.
Excellent.
And that's on Wednesday. But we'll have a booth there. You can go and pick up stickers and some other goodies.
Sure.
But yeah, I'll be there the entire time. Where is? Yeah, so if you go to the platform, especially if you sign up, you'll see. I closed it, but you'll see a pop-up that'll have like a walkthrough. Like a short, simple, easy to use walkthrough that'll get you onboarded really quickly. It's really useful for learning about the platform in a short period of time. Yeah, so let me know. Is there any more questions?
None from my side. I think it's pretty good. So I thank you for your time.
Okay. All right. If additional questions do come up, you have my email. Yeah, I'll send out an email with this information. And Sima, if you don't mind, just shoot me an email saying that you're requesting like information about news APIs.
Kevin, I've got all the notes so we can reach out after.
Yeah. So yeah, just let me know. And then we can talk later.
Do we hang up?
Yeah, so I'll just end the meeting then. So it seems like nobody else has any questions. If anything comes up, I guess we'll be in touch through email. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye everyone. Bye Kevin.
Bye.
When?